Hello, Donna Cato here. Welcome to my channel. Now, today, what we're going to do, it's just a shorty, but I want to talk about polymer clay clasps, findings. Now, this for me has always been very difficult because conventional findings are generally too small, too delicate for what I do because my work tends to be pretty big. So finding something that is consistent with and scaled to my work has always been difficult. Now, there's another thing I like solving problems. I like looking for solutions. So this was a problem that I kind of set my mind to. And this was one of the first, it wasn't the first actually, there was another one, but I don't even have that one anywhere, I don't think. And this was one of my first solutions to the large polymer clay jewelry piece problem I had. Okay, now what I also like about this is that, you know, it becomes a design element in the piece, as opposed to, oh yeah, there's clasp, you put it together. But this becomes part of the whole piece as a design element. Now, I love this clasp. Now I'm going to turn it over, and you can see what it looks like from behind. And the way it works is that you lift the piece up, and then the cord slides through an opening and out. You slide the cord in, you turn it, and then the centerpiece drops back in like that. Okay, it's a beautiful clasp. It works really well. It's very secure, and you know, it's perfect, except for one thing. It's very difficult for people to figure out how to use. You need a lesson on how to use the clasp. Okay, so that one problem, that huge problem, is the reason why I don't use it. I don't use it. I may do this for myself, but I would not use it for a piece that I was going to sell, because you have to, it has to come with complete instructions on how to use the clasp. So that is the unfortunate truth of this first clasp. Great solution with a problem. All right, so then I moved on. And you've probably seen this, you guys, because I do have a tutorial on how to make and how to use this clasp. This was the next incarnation, and it is a hook that slides around a bar like so. Very secure. I really love this clasp. And you know what? Easy to understand. Someone will look at it, someone will know how to disengage and engage it again. So solve that problem with this clasp. I really like it a lot. And I do have my templates for both sizes. So this is a big one, and this is the smaller one. So you can scale it to whatever you're working on or whatever you're making. Okay, so I love this clasp, but it does require that you have the template. I worked very hard figuring this out, and the template makes everything easy. But if you don't have the template, it's tough. It's tough. You got to figure it out like I did. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside because today I'm going to show you a much simplified version. All right, which is this. All right, now all it is a piece with a little pad, tiny, and what you do to engage it, got this C hook like this. It goes in and then it drops down like so. All right, once again, you slide the cord on the opposite side through, and then it drops. Now, the thing about this, though, is that it doesn't lie flat, all right? How can it? The cord is coming straight out of the back of this piece, so that when you engage it, it always kind of sits at an angle. Now, maybe that bothers you, maybe not. But I still think it's a pretty good solution, and it does make the clasp part of the design of the whole piece, which I like. I don't necessarily want to see a clasp. I want it to do its job, but I do not want to see it. I want the clasp to appear to be part of the overall design. Okay, so here's another one. Now, this is a tapered or graduated necklace I made using our black and white pieces. And instead of making my template clasp, the Kato clasp, I went ahead and I just made what I just showed you. So here we go. The cord slides through, the cord slides in, the C hook just hugs that center like so, and gravity keeps that on your neck. You know, it's not going to come out, not too easily anyway. All right, so that's what we're going to do. But once again, the thing I don't like about it is that it doesn't lie flat. And I'm working on other clasps that may never turn into anything because now we're getting complicated again. See, I can't even... This was really a beautiful little clasp, but I can't get it out. You pivot one part around the other, so it slides in, and then you twist it. Anyway, someday this may turn into something if I can figure it out again. Figured it out once. I don't know if I can figure it out again. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Okay, so first of all, you're going to need whatever piece you're going to feature as the piece that you see of the clasp. And it's got to be cured. So I've cured this. Now, I would not make a clasp this color, but I'm going to do this color because it's easier to see than black. So let me take some poly paste, put it on the back. This isn't a very good piece, but it's what I had lying around. Then I'm going to take, and I've rolled this through very thin setting of my pasta machine, and I textured it by rolling it through with the texture sponge. Now let's just trim around. Nothing fancy here. This is not fancy schmancy, because this is not the important part. Okay. Just want to give you guys some solutions because sometimes it's the little things. Well, it's not so little actually. A clasp is not such a tiny part of a piece you make. But you can make that piece something special, or you can make it something that is nothing, just serves that practical purpose. So I would much rather try to make it something that's a little more special. Okay, so this has been rolled through the thickest setting of my pasta machine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take and just double it up. Now, to make the pad on the back, you have some decisions here. Now, if I make it using this larger piece, you have to imagine that that C piece is going to go around it, right? So how close to this, to the edge, do you want this C piece? Because the larger this is in the middle, the closer it gets to the edge. I don't think it has to be very big. And so I am going to use a smaller Kemper cutter, this size instead of this size. I'm going to cut straight down. And that was good. I didn't really want it to get stuck in here because then I've got to push it out and I get that mark. So it was good that it got stuck to my tile. Now I'm just going to press it and put it on. And then, as we did with our other in the discs class, you want to take some kind of sculpture tool and really press that pad to the clay. Okay, so just run it around. Now this can be actually quite small because remember, we're just going to drill a 2mm hole in there, or a hole the size, the diameter of your cord. Okay, so there will be a hole centered there. Now for the hook itself, what I'm going to do is take this other piece, I'm going to double it up, because of course I want it to be the same height as the pad on the back. All right, so let me grab another cutter. Now I think that this will be quite nice. It's not quite at the edge, but it's going to be fine. You can see where the edge is. There's still a little bit of clearance there. And I'm going to cut straight down and push it out. Now I'm going to take the same cutter I used to make that the pad on the back, and I'm going to do my best to center it over here. Cut straight. Push that out. Okay, so let's see how this will fit. And it is, because I used exactly the same cutter, it is probably exactly the same size. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I would like a little more clearance, I'm going to take and I'm going to cut the slot. Now remember, the slot just has to be big enough for the cord to slide through. It doesn't have to be a lot bigger than that. So let me just hold this here, compare it. Sometimes I make it too big. Okay, so to me, that looks good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bake these together. After they're cured, when they're still hot, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on here. And by putting it on here, I'll open it up if necessary. If necessary, this hole will be a little larger when it's hot, and I put it on here. So I hope you understand that. I'm going to let the heat, the hot clay, make any kind of adjustment I need to make. Just a tiny bit larger, just a fraction larger. Not too much, just a little bit, because you don't want it to be way larger. All right, so let me bake this in the oven. All right, so I'm shooting this again because I thought I had turned the video on and I didn't. So the pieces are cured. Now, I did go ahead and drill a hole into the base, following the usual procedure of a smaller drill and then up to a larger drill. Now, when you drill, it's so easy to drill all the way through that make sure you put your finger right there, and you'll feel the drill. You'll feel the bit as it comes to you. So the minute you feel it, stop. Now, I was a little bit late here, so you might be able to see that there's a little tiny bump in the middle. And that's because I did not stop soon enough. I'm not too upset. This is my sample. So it's good that I'm showing you what I did so you don't do it. All right, so this is the piece that I actually made. Okay, it's just a donut with a slice out of it. But as usual, I thought, oh my God, why didn't I do it this way? Because I have done it this way. And I want you to see the difference between these two. This hole is actually offset. It's a little bit closer to one edge than another. So opposite that narrowest part is, of course, the thickest part. Now, the thickest part is where you want to drill your hole for your cord. And it might not look like a lot, but, you know, sometimes just the difference, just the smallest difference can make a piece, can make it more secure. So that's why this is the way I would recommend you do it. Offset the hole slightly. This is perfectly, this is strong enough right here. This width doesn't have to be as wide as this, but now you'll be able to drill further into the hole. Now, in terms of the position of the slit, you want it close to the hole, okay? That's what I've done. So if this is 6 o'clock, maybe this is 7, 8 o'clock. Maybe this is 7, maybe that's, 7:45. But you're gonna want it close because that will also make it more secure. So here is the other one. Ba-ba. Now, see how nicely that fits? Well, it was still a little bit small. I did do the plunge it in cold water, put the piece on, let it cool, and the hole became just slightly larger. But then I sanded it, and I kind of sanded the hole smaller again. I don't know, it just happens. Okay, so I can't really get much of anything in that hole to sand it, to enlarge it. So I have quite a collection of these. These are just very cheap metal files that I get at Harbor Freight. It's like $12 for $2. So what I would recommend is that you get these and use them, for situations like this, all right? And you can enlarge things like this hole. Now that's perfect, okay? Now another thing, after you've drilled, what I would recommend highly is that you take an O-ring and you put it on your cord, and then when you glue your cord into the hole, you take the O-ring and you slide it all the way up to the hole. And so you're going to glue the cord in the hole, and then you will glue the O-ring to the back of the clay. All right, this also makes it much more secure. The gluing is more secure. The cord is much more secure in the hole. All right, do the same thing when you're gluing the cord into the hook. Glue it in, push it all the way in, then push the O-ring right up to the hole, and then you will have glued the O-ring to the surface, and you will have the cord glued inside the hole. Now, when you're drilling this part, you just have to keep watching inside because, I can't get my finger in there. I can't feel when the tip of this drill is coming through. So you're just going to have to keep a good eye on it and stop and withdraw the drill. Then you'll be done. Okay, so that is a very, very simple. It's a simplified clasp. And I think it's quite useful for situations where you want a small clasp, something maybe very petite, but you also want to make something that adds to the design of your piece instead of just sitting there and being a clasp. So here we go. So thank you for watching. If you have learned something, if you've enjoyed the tutorial, I hope you'll subscribe and like. And I think that's it, but you know me, I could be back. In case I'm not, I hope you have a great day, and until we meet again, goodbye.